would now call this regular board meeting of the Board of Education to order at 7:05 p.m. Please call the roll.
Ms. Pearson?
Present.
Mr. Schubert?
Here.
Ms. McCall?
Present.
Ms. Bennett?
Present.
Mr. Carpenter?
Here.
Ms. Haley?
Here.
Ms. Stanford?
Here.
With 7 present, we have a quorum.
We'll now take a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
As we start each board meeting, it bears reminding the mission of Rockford Public Schools is to collaboratively engage all students in an equitable first-class education for a changing world. I would like to thank Ms. Kim Pedersen and Aaron Hill, who are working behind the scenes to produce a board's broadcast via YouTube live stream and Comcast Channel 20. I wish to welcome Superintendent Student Advisory Council Representative Stella Seminario, from Guilford High School. We would now recognize and celebrate outstanding contributions for our students. Mr. Earl Dotson, Jr.
Good evening. Tonight, we're excited to honor Rockford Public Schools' outstanding students, coaches, and teachers and celebrate their great achievements. Please come up to be recognized when you hear your name or your team called. In academics, all 3 Auburn High School seniors who were named semifinalists for the National Merit Scholarship this past fall have made it to finalist status. Congratulations to Ashley Ferry, Juan Lin, and Brielle Rock, National Merit Scholarship finalists. The 3 were presented with their official certificates last month. There you go.
Somebody always has to be first. Congratulations. Congratulations.
I didn't think they were here. Auburn student Leonel Batista Cortez was chosen as the 2024 YWCA Northwestern Illinois La Voz Latina Scholarship winner. The scholarship has grown and is awarded to 2 recipients in the amount of $1,670. Lionel has also applied to Rockford Promise and hopes to go to Rockford University. His goal is to become an elementary teacher in RPS 205. Auburn students Shamia Taper and Amaya Challenger both received the Rockford Alumni Chapter Scholarship from Data Sigma Theta Sorority. This scholarship is open to African American females who have a 2.5 GPA or higher and are active in the community. Are they here? And now for athletics. East High School had 5 student athletes qualify for the IHSA Individual State Wrestling Tournament that was held at the State Farm Center in Champaign on February 15th through the 17th. They not only represented themselves in East, but represented RPS 205 very well. These young men had a very good tournament. Senior Lee Smith Jr. earned all-state honors, finishing 3rd in the state at 285 pounds after losing by 1 point to the eventual state champion. Junior Donald Cannon also earned all-state honors while finishing 4th at 132 pounds. Senior Joseph Young went 1 and 2 at 120 pounds, losing to the eventual state champion and the 5th place finisher. Sophomore Dana Wixon went 1 and 2 at 144 pounds, losing to the 6th place finisher. Lastly, Tyquavian Smart, who is also a sophomore, also went 1 and 2, losing to the eventual 3rd place finisher. This is the 3rd largest contingent in school history that has represented the ERABs in the state wrestling tournament. All 5 were voted all conference and helped their team to a 15-3 dual meet record for the season. And the ERABs finished 2nd in the conference, 2nd in the regional as a team. Auburn High School junior James Murray punched his ticket to state in swimming. He competed in both the 200 freestyle and 500 freestyle. Nope. And this one is near and dear to my heart. Congratulations to the 2024 Girls and Boys Reba champions. The girls team from Thurgood Marshall School and the boys team from Westview Elementary each won the Rockford Elementary Basketball Association tournament. Thank you, principals, coaches, families, and volunteers for your hard work and continued dedication to our students. He's so stinking cute. Yeah, he is. Yep. Yeah, he is. The ones in front and behind him, too, are also really good. Very good. Moving on to fine arts. The National Scholastic Art and Writing Awards program was developed to establish a structure for encouraging outside-of-the-box thinkers and creators. Jefferson High School artists competed in the 8-state Midwest region, sponsored by the University of Iowa's Bellin Blank Center for Giftedness. The 2024 results were announced recently, reflecting the following statistics. Gold keys are awarded to the top 5 to 7% of all entries. Silver keys are awarded to the top 7 to 10% of all entries. Honorable mention is awarded to the top 10 to 15% of all entries. The following Jefferson students received regional state level awards and will be honored at a Scholastic Awards celebration hosted by the University of Iowa. The Honorable Mention Portfolio Award is recognition awarded to seniors for exemplary work. Maya Hildebrand Gold Key Awards are the highest level of achievement. All Gold Key works are forwarded to New York City to compete for inclusion in the national exhibition. Izera Alvarado and Maya Hildebrand. For Silver Key Awards, Neela Campello, Emily Chavez, Maya Hildebrand, Erica Palos Ponce, and Miley Segala. And for Honorable Mention Awards, Izera Alvarado, Maya Hildebrand, Erica Palos Ponce, Xavier Podraza, and Sherlyn Zavala. The national award recognition will be announced in June, at which time 300 of the nation's most creative and accomplished teenage artists will be invited to New York City to receive top honors from the Scholastic Art and Writing Awards program. Nobody? The Rockford Art Museum's 83rd Young Artist Show was held at Rockford University Clark's Arts Center earlier this month. A closing reception was held this past Friday for award winners, their families, and teachers. The following RPS 205 students received awards for their works of art. For portfolio, Guilford High School's Humberto Carlos Hernandez. For Women's Art Board, Jefferson's Maya Hildebrand. For Juror's Choice, Auburn High School's Jade Stone. And the Honorable Mention Award went to both Lauren Ryder of Auburn and Elle Cabral of Guilford. Let's give a big round of applause for all of our recognitions. Congratulations, everyone.
We will resume once their exit is made. Thank you.
Green, you're good to go.
I know, and there's
Is your mic on?
Yes, I think, yes, it is. Thank you. Good evening. My name is Kim Ward. I am here as principal of Froberg Elementary School, and I've brought with me tonight two of my outstanding, amazing kindergarten team. I have Miss Gabby Riley and Mrs. Chris Dahl. So they're here tonight to help us explain and talk about this really wonderful, exciting event that we tried for the first time this year, and it was a success. We will be doing it again, but it's called the Kindergarten Switcheroo. And we actually welcomed in the class of 2036, which blew my mind, but that's what it was. So a Kindergarten Switcheroo is an idea that was formulated. I was thinking of how can we welcome our families in the community and our students into the school, as well as provide a welcoming experience. And the thing with kindergarten, I don't know if many of you realize this, but we don't know them when they're walking in the front door. So it's a roll of the dice as to who's in our classroom. So we wanted to provide a more equitable way to get to know our students and also to form our classes as it went on. So what we did, and there's some of our lovely little kiddos, so we had a kindergarten switcheroo. So what we did was in the summer before school started, the teachers and myself sat down and planned. We sent letters to the family and invited everyone to come to school on the first day to get their homeroom teacher. And that was the first day of school. They met their homeroom teacher. But then throughout the week, of the first week of school, each day the kindergarten classes would switch and go to another classroom. Why did we do this? It really provided our teachers to have the opportunity to get to know all the kids. The students got to know all of the teachers, as well as all of our support staff that pushes in and helps with our kindergarten. It also allowed the opportunity, the way we have our schedule done, for our teachers and our support staff to do some screenings and assessments that we don't normally get the opportunity to have before we have them in our classrooms full time. So all of that to be said, we had this huge build up to the final day of our switcheroo. We had a huge assembly. All the community members and families came, and grandparents and aunts and uncles and siblings and students that were still in town that were leaving for college soon. So we had a lot of people in our gym to have the big reveal as to who their forever teacher was going to be. And so as you can see, my great dynamic team here is wearing their shirts. And every student got a shirt to match their teacher. So that was their forever home for the year. And we had a big assembly, and it was a huge success, and there was lots of clapping and flowers, and we just had a great time. And then afterwards, the parents and the families that were there were invited to come to the classrooms so they could meet their child's forever teacher. They got to spend a bit of the morning with them and learn about kindergarten. So that was really fun. It has been a huge success, and these ladies probably could say more than I can, and you're welcome to. But we've had some really positive outcomes. The biggest is the sense of belonging that all of our kindergarten students felt right off of the bat, and they still continue this day. Kindergarten is looked at as like one huge unit now, and not just 3 separate classrooms. Any student can go into any classroom at any time, which they often do. We had a little student today that was just having a rough moment, and she just wanted to go visit Mrs. Dahl's class for a little bit. Went in, calmed down, got regulated, and carried on her day very happily. They have joint conferences together. They know all of the parents, and all of the parents know them. It's nice. They speak the same language in the classrooms. Yep. It's promoted, when you say more collaboration. Yeah. Yeah, the collaboration, they do everything together, they plan together. The kids know that every room they go into, it's run the same way. When we're short, if we have a day where we have a sub, instead of a day of kind of whatever, or just interrupted instruction, they gather together in one room and they co-teach, and they all teach the same thing so the students don't miss a beat. It's really been a lot of fun for everybody. Our families have been really happy with it. Yeah. They reach out to all 3 teachers, and the students love it too. And the classes have been balanced much better this year than we have in the years past, because we've had an opportunity to get to know them. And so some more of their outcomes, and there's their cute little faces, is the kids know everybody in all of the classes. They have friends now wherever they go, and it's really increased. They feel like Froberg is really their home, and it wasn't so new and scary to them because everybody got to know everybody. So thank you so much for letting us share our kindergarten switcheroo story, and hope you enjoyed our event. So thank you.
There were no questions? Okay.
I have a comment. Can I make a comment?
Vice President McCall?
I just had a comment. I mean, you can stand up if you want to. It's really to thank you guys. I believe this is a great way to think outside of the box to increase inclusiveness. I see these groups of students, you know, following along and being friends. So it's not as scary in first grade when you get split up because you know pretty much majority of your kindergarten class. So I would like to applaud you guys for that and can't wait to see the outcomes. And I want to know if you're going to continue it from now on. Come on, hit the mic. Come on, so the people. Come in and turn, speak into the mic so the people online can hear.
Yes, so we are going to do it again this year, and we're already, you know, as you try something new, you learn and you grow. Mm-hmm. So these ladies have some wonderful ideas about how to make it even better than it was this past year. And then I have some long-term plans of slowly rolling it up to each grade level, and eventually our first few days at Froberg will just all be switching around and getting to know everybody so that our classes are much more equitable and better sense of belonging.
Okay, thank you.
I have a quick comment, actually. Thank you for an excellent presentation. So can you give me a percentage of the kindergartners that you have that did not go to preschool or Head Start, like kindergarten was their first experience? Do you?
In my class, I had 20 kids to start the beginning of the year, and I know about 50% did not. It was just during conferences, I'm like, oh, like talking about where they're at and everything. And they're like, well, they didn't go to preschool. I'm like, interesting. There's lots of connections made when they mention that. But a lot of them are growing alongside of their friends, too.
Very good.
Yeah, I would say about the same. I would say a little bit more.
Can you come a little closer to the mic?
Start talking to the mic.
Yeah, I would say more than 50% of my students did go to preschool, but there is a large percentage that when they came to our kindergarten switcheroo, that was their first time in a school building. It was their first time away from their grown-ups at home. So that the support that we were able to give them, and really just looking at that whole child to make a decision of where they would feel most comfortable to do their learning for the year was really important for these little. They're little. They are really little when they come in. So really looking at the whole child would really, I think, made a large benefit to all of our kids.
Well, kudos to you all for having to adjust to that and have the challenge of them adjusting as a very new experience in a more controlled atmosphere. So excellent job. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks
You're
for
welcome.
having us.
We are now on to the petitions and communication portion of our meeting, where we invite public community members to make comments. The board will not respond to comments at this time. If it is appropriate, you will be contacted in a timely manner by staff. Each speaker will be allowed no more than 3 minutes to address the board. It is not appropriate to discuss matters that would otherwise be confidential in such open meetings. If you look to your left, you will see 2 digital clocks. One shows the total time allotted to public comments, and one shows the total time for each speaker. We thank you in advance for your cooperation with our guidelines. The first speaker for the evening is Mr. Ricky Naylor, followed by Mr. John Tack Bradley. Yes, sir.
Wait. Okay, good evening. You can start that clock now. Okay, first of all, I'm bringing gifts tonight because I got a little bag of popcorn there because I want to excuse those 3 female board members that voted to change this district to move forward. So I just want to, y'all can go ahead and leave right now if y'all want to and come back when I get done talking. Because I really want to address the white board members that voted for the status quo. Now, granted, you got some good staff here like Dr. Morgan, Dr. Reed, and also Virgil Hobson that are really kind of took a little pressure off. But we want to know now, since you guys voted for the status quo, what are you going to do now? I mean, we know you said we want to vote for this 75% increase, but beyond the 75% increase in the graduation rate, what else are you going to do? So it'll be nice for you guys to explain that one day. I mean, when you talk about, you guys didn't really know about this district's history of racism, or you would have thought, say, look, we cannot go out there and vote along racial lines. But the paper said, it said Rockford Board of Education voted along racial lines. That should make y'all think, man, we can't do that. You guys know when big decisions happens, like you guys know about Brown Board of Education, those white guys said we cannot go out there and have a vote 6-3, 5-4. We want 9-0. So you guys should have took a poll and said, okay, who gonna vote to extend this administration and who gonna vote or not? So when you got those tallies in, you say, wait, we can't do this right now, we got to wait. But that's okay now, like I said, Dr. Morgan, these guys are saving you guys, because these guys have been meeting with people in the community and say, okay, look, we can't give y'all a regime change, but we can do a reset. I mean, a reset is now saying, okay, now we're gonna really deal with equity in this school district. Not going to do equity and extract anymore. We're going to do equity in reality. So we're going to follow behind these guys, and we have been meeting with Dr. Reed and Dr. Morgan and Virgil. So you got people out there working for you guys. Now, another gift I'm giving you guys. Now, I can't give you guys a copy because it's copyrighted, but you guys got those level 4 students. It's a guide that we use in Madison. It's a carry guide in bits. I can't give it to nobody, but I'll point Mr. Morgan in the right direction, Mr. Gallagher in the right direction so he can get this. This program is worth like $30,000, but you can do a grant and get it, and then I got the people you can contact. They'll set it up so you guys can get your staff trained to where they can sit down with those guys individually or in groups and work with these guys on making better decisions and doing different things, but also taking responsibility for themselves, because these guys don't see they doing anything wrong. They're just going to keep on doing it and not going to change their behaviors. So I brought you guys some gifts. So like I said, we'll keep working with Dr. Morgan over there because he knows what he's doing.
Thank you, Mr. Naylor.
Well, it's been a minute. How y'all doing, the board members and our community that's watching? This here weekend, this was our 4th year being in the St. Patrick's Day Parade. And the kids was overwhelmed to see the chief judge came over there and shook my hand and greeted me. And they said, Brother John know everybody. He even know the chief judge. And they said, well, why we in this parade? I had to remind them because I'm a walking encyclopedia when it comes to African American history. And I said that he was once a slave, and he escaped Ireland and came back to England. And when he became a bishop, they sent him back to Ireland, and he converted quite a few into the Catholic. And so they said, oh, but why we in it? I said, because our ancestor was also former slave. And this here, next week, Dr. Reed not here, but I wish he was, and maybe I'm going to ask Earl Dyson Jr. We going to the Museum of Science and Industry next week on a Wednesday. Dr. Reed said he wanted to go with us, which would be nice to have a school administration going with us, because I'm taking Lewis Lennon, McIntosh, Constant Lane, Welch, and Riverdale kids all in one lump sum, and none of them have never been to the museum before. We got some parents, that's grandparents in their 70s who never been to the museum before. Mind you, it costs $25 for youth, $40 for adults, but we able to get in at a discount rate, and we're going to see one of the exhibits. The exhibits we're going to see is not the coal mine, not the train. We're going to see 007. And so the kids is very enthused about seeing 007. And so I want to end my last minute by making an observation. You know, in Houston, the 600 teachers quit because they shut down the libraries in the school system, and they started destroying books. Here in Rockford, Texas, Tennessee, Florida, they openly shut down, tried to eliminate our history. Also, I want to switch and talk about Patriot Gateway Center. They have an alternative program. We had 359 kids expelled out of school. We have alternative programs that is overfilled. Why would the board shut down Patriot Gateway Center that's in the heart of the community, that's working with our kids that have been expelled out of school? When we got over 4,000 of our African-American youth that's been expelled out of school, we got over 400 absenteeism of African-Americans that's been suspended out of school, of not going to school. We should be working with these alternative programs so that we can enhance them, the grassroots.
Ms. Angel Brown, followed by Linda Lawrence.
Hello, board members. My name is Angel Brown. Today, I want to talk about the cleaning of the schools. I would really like if whomever's doing the cleaning, if they can use bleach and open the doors, or open the windows, because you have to also think about when you have rugs in the school, a lot of people have their shoes on, they're trying to do different things. Some of their family members have dogs, have cats, some kids are allergic to it, then they sitting on the carpet for reading, and a lot of kids get sick because of allergies and things like that. I also would like to talk about my son. He do go to a special program, and he have asthma, and he's always absent because when he get an upper respiratory infection, it messes with his asthma. So then I have to meet with the principal because he missed so many days. I can't control when his asthma is going to flare up. I can't dictate when he's going to get sick. Everybody can contest to last week weather. It was hot, it was cold, it was raining, and the kids go outside. Sometimes they don't have their coat zipped up. Sometimes they don't have no hats on. The reason that I'm saying this is because it still contributes to them getting sick and they have asthma and they missing school. But I don't want to be called in the office with the principal to talk about something that I can't control. What about the kids that have cancer? What about the kids that have sickle cell? Just because they're in a special program, they're going to have to come to the office. I feel like some kids do be sick a lot, which we can't control. And I feel like if a person is constipated, I'm sorry to use this terminology, but it's the only way I feel. But I feel like if a person is constipated, they can't go to the bathroom since it's a waiting list for this special program. The kids have to move out the way so they can get in the program, and I feel that that's not fair. Lastly, I would like to know when it's time to hire a new principal, teacher. Is it possible that the community or parents could be involved with the hiring of those people? Because we are the ones that will have to deal with the parents, and deal with the principals, and we kind of know like who we want to deal with. I feel like that would be best for us. And I would like you to know that our scholars are investments and not write-offs. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Linda Lawrence. I'm a former District 205 school psychologist. I am an affiliated minister of the Unitarian Universalist congregation in Rockford, and I'm a member of the Eliminate Racism 815 Education Committee. Our mission on that committee is to be passionate advocates of equity-driven policies and practices for Rockford Public Schools so that all students will be prepared both socially and academically for success. The Education Committee's first goal was presented to the board 5 years ago. It aimed to increase the percentage of people of color, especially African American and Hispanic people, to 20% at all district levels, including administration, faculty, staff, and board members. We initially hoped the percentages of African American and Hispanic staff would match the percentage of students of colors by the 25-26 school year. It is an ambitious task to hire and retain large numbers of teachers and staff of color. We commend the efforts of the Grow Your Own programs the district has initiated. While these programs are starting to generate staff of color, The percentages of staff of color are a little better than they were 5 years ago. Here are the most recent statistics from 2022-23. We have 32% African American students and just about 3.5% African American teachers, 31% Hispanic students, and 4.11% Hispanic teachers. White students made up 26% of the student population, with almost 87% white teachers. Multiracial students comprise 77% of all students, with a corresponding about 3.5% of multiracial teachers. For a student population that was 70% students of color, we had only 11.12% teachers of color in 2022-23. These statistics show that the district is not currently on track to meet the goal of having 20% of our teachers be people of color, and we are far from matching percentages of minority teachers to percentages of students of color. In fact, the most recent Illinois State Report Card indicates that the percentage of Black teachers in RPS has decreased consistently. The Education Committee of Eliminate Racism 815 will continue to advocate for an increase in teachers of color, but we must also ask, why is 205 losing staff of color? Are there exit interviews or questionnaires that can be analyzed for answers?
Thank you for your time, ma'am. Your time is up.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Tommy Meeks and Ms. Evelyn Meeks.
Evelyn didn't know I put her name on the list, so she's a little upset with me. But this is my wife, Evelyn. I'm Tommy Meeks. And I'm here today. We represent Juneteenth. This woman has been with me for going on 34 years this year. We will have celebrated 34 years of Juneteenth. And I came here today to thank the district. I'll be honest, I worked with the Park District for many years. I never really approached the school district, but every time I did approach the school district for some type of assistance, I did receive it. Last year, Dr. Jarrett came at Juneteenth. I was so proud to see him there. And Earl contributed last year, and he really did a good job this year, adding a little bit more funds to the Juneteenth celebration. Now, we've been doing it here for 34 years this year, but a lot of people don't really understand all the stuff that goes into what makes up Juneteenth. But I'll just say tonight, I don't have a whole lot of time. I could go on and on, but Juneteenth is about freedom. And there's a lot of people that don't understand why me and Evelyn and other people have promoted this event all these years. But it's really about freedom, people helping other people. And that's why I've been doing the work that I do in the community. My wife is the Thomas Lay Borough School Board Member of the Year for the state of Illinois for 2022. Thank you. I wanted to mention that because she's done a lot of work in the Harlem School District. And that's what we try to do, is to help people, not hurt people. And that's a part of why I'm here tonight, is to thank Earl for his contribution, thank Dr. Jarrett, and thank RPS 205 for being a part of Juneteenth, because I think moving forward, Juneteenth could be something that could really help a lot of our students if they realize the struggle that ancestors, that my ancestors went through, but your ancestors went through. Juneteenth is not just about freeing the slaves. It's about America understanding that we are all citizens of this great country, and people need help. I'll close with this. I get a lot of students, because I work for the county and what I call the wake-up group. And I've seen some of these young men come to the district. Some of them are in pretty bad shape. I'll be honest with you. But some of them are not. We have a lot of productive men that are in trouble. And I think if we can reach these young people while they're in school, out of school, we could change RPS. Thank you very much.
What a coincidence. I got on two shows. What a coincidence.
We are now on the action items. Is there a motion and a second to approve item 5A?
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Please call the roll.
Ms. Pearson?
Yes.
Mr. Schubert?
Yes.
Ms. McCall?
Yes.
Ms. Bennett?
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter?
Yes.
Ms. Haley?
Yes.
Ms. Stanford?
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously.
We are now on the board policies that proceed through governance committee. Is there a motion and a second to approve item 6A?
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Please call the roll.
Mr. Schubert?
Yes.
Ms. McCall?
Yes.
Ms. Bennett?
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter?
Yes.
Ms. Haley?
Yes.
Ms. Stanford?
Yes.
Ms. Pearson?
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously.
Is there a motion and a second to approve item 6B?
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Ms. Haley? Board policy 464. Yes, please call the roll.
Ms. McCall?
Yes.
Ms. Bennett?
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter?
Yes.
Ms. Haley?
Yes.
Ms. Stanford?
Yes.
Ms. Pearson?
Yes.
Mr. Schubert?
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously.
Board policy 4.60 has been placed on the agenda for board's review and discussion. Mr. Dane Youngblood have been invited to provide further information on the policy. Mr. Youngblood, the floor is yours. Just speak, yeah, speak up.
My mistake, wrong color. So again, my name is Dane Youngblood. I'm the Director of Purchasing here for the school district. It's been a little bit since I've spoken on any of our purchasing processes or policies, and quite a few board members are newer to the board since the last time I have. So since there's been some discussion in the last few meetings about how bids are awarded, I want to take an opportunity to make sure that everybody understood our current practices and how we do that, both what's in our board policy and our bid documents that we issue to potential contractors. So, and I'll try to run through it pretty quickly here, but I think the most important thing to point out is that our current bid requirements are very much shaped by the requirements of the state of Illinois. It very much mirrors what's in the school code. There are some bids that require further requirements if they are, for example, funded by federal funds, such as our ESSER construction projects or our E-rate IT infrastructure that we purchase every year. They have additional criteria that's mandated by the federal government and how we can award those and how we have to score those proposals or bids. Our general bid process, there's about 8 to 10 required forms. I'm not going to get into the weeds on all of them, but they address things like lobbying, debarment, entities that are sanctioned by the federal government cannot submit bids. We make sure they sign conflict of interest forms so that, you know, people that would have an interest, well, you guys understand what a conflict of interest is. We do require certificates of insurance that reflect the district's requirements that are very clearly laid out in our bid documents. We have several types of bids that we issue, and how they're awarded are based on that type of bid. RFPs are more of a, we have a matrix. So RFPs are used for purchases that require more than just the consideration of cost. I mean, we consider multiple things in all of our bids, but RFPs are going to be for things that are looking more for solutions. You may not be able to measure them apples to apples from one bidder to the next. So we create a matrix with criteria, cost being one of them, you know, experience, other, you know, how they're going to approach the problem, references, things like that, that we score. And then the one that has, you'll see when I present the bids for you guys to approve, that it will state there it's not necessarily the lowest cost, but it's the best fit, best value for the district, as we've determined through our scoring matrix. Some examples of where we would use that is for, we just embarked on implementing a contract management system. We use that to help discover what software and platforms would meet our needs. Our substitute management was done through an RFP process. So was banking services, lots of others, but those are the type of things we would do that way. A request for qualification is a process that's also mandated by the school code for professional services, such as architecture and engineering. We're not allowed to request pricing. We have to strictly identify the most qualified possible contractor, and then once we've determined that and we've awarded them, then we negotiate rates, which are fairly industry standard for the most part. And then that brings us lastly to kind of the most basic bid process, your invitation for bid. That is a much more cost-driven process than the other two. It's also how the state requires that we bid construction. But there are many qualifying factors other than just price. So to circle back a little bit before we get into that, a lot of outside of construction, we buy things like commodities, like bulk oil, fuel, things like that for buses. It's basically everybody provides the same thing, who's giving us the best amount, and then we make sure that that person's going to responsibly do that for us through the life of the contract. So some of those factors that we weigh in, along with the price, is their adherence to the bid specifications, the past performance of the bidder, including here for the district, and references that we follow up on. The financial responsibility of the bidder. For certain bids, we require, you know, confidential financial documents so that we can see that, yes, they can handle our size of a contract and the work we need them to do. The ability to meet project timelines. You know, sometimes we need to have something done in a certain period of time, particularly with construction. Quality of work can be a factor. And also maintenance costs. You know, something in my line of work, the original price isn't always the true cost of something. It's often a value base, you know, based on warranties, how much maintenance something is going to need over time, and that's additional investment for the life of that purchase, if that makes sense. So the district has wide discretion within our board policy and our bid documents to make those decisions on who is a qualified bidder. So I want to be clear, we're not just recommending low bids, we're recommending the lowest qualified bidder. We may use different terminology, but it's the same concept. So construction bids on top of all of this, again, more mandated by the state of Illinois and the school code, we do require bid bonds, performance bonds, and they of course must pay prevailing wage per the law in the state of Illinois. So there are, you know, from a public procurement point of view, the concerns I might have about having additional requirements for bidding would, number one, we have our front end bid documents are over 30 pages long. When I've attended some events where we've been out showing companies how to do bidding with local governments, and I've worked with the other governments, we've gotten that feedback that it is quite a bit for many companies to go through. So that's already a bit of an obstacle for some local companies, because it's a lot to take in. Increasing the amount of requirements we have for people to bid would likely lead to higher costs for projects. If we have less bids, that means the potential for a lower bid to not be presented, ultimately paying higher costs for work. That could also involve delayed completion of work based on, you know, what resources those bidders can provide for the project. And also unnecessary barriers to entry for disadvantaged businesses. So basically, the more barriers you put in front of businesses, the less competition you're going to get. So kind of to wrap all that up, I'll revisit what I addressed at the beginning. Our bid specs are very much in line with what the state of Illinois dictates that we do. Illinois is a highly regulated government as far as how we use taxpayer funds, how we run our bid processes, how we operate labor. If the state of Illinois felt like these things would benefit our students and taxpayers, they probably would have mandated that already. So again, I just want to kind of give you an idea of the work we do to qualify bids right now and how we have for the last at least 6 years since I've been here. So any questions from anybody?
Can you give us a little more information or describe disadvantaged businesses?
That would be businesses that are have registered with the state as minority, women-owned, veteran-owned, disabled-owned. That's who we'd be talking about.
And how many of those have come to bid?
I wouldn't have that number in front of me. I can try to get that. I can get that to you later date. One challenge with that is that's entirely up to who has identified themselves as that type of business. And if they have not done that, we're not going to necessarily know that that's part of that data.
So then that is potentially invalid. I mean, if we haven't had businesses to come to bid, say in the last 5-10 years, is it because they wasn't aware of the bid, or were there other barriers for them to bid? I'm trying to get a better understanding of how this, if anything in the policy changes, how it would affect the disadvantaged businesses.
Well, basically, you know, those companies typically and historically have already had barriers to entry compared to more established. I mean, a lot of them are newer businesses. A lot of them don't have the experience that some older, larger companies may have. So basically, you know, we try to reduce as many barriers to competition in a general sense. I'm just speaking generally here. You know, so because the least restrictive environment we have that meets our needs, our students' needs, and is compliant with, you know, board policy, state and federal law, the more companies have an opportunity to do that. You know, we're already a very large company. Companies need a lot of resources to meet our needs. Does that make sense?
Yes, it makes sense.
Okay.
Okay, so you're going to get that information to me in regards to the businesses that could have potentially bidded that.
I don't know. I can tell you who we currently award work to that has identified as one of those types of businesses. I can't tell you who out there hasn't taken advantage of that opportunity at all. And I also can't tell you some companies that we may already be doing business with that would qualify if they do register with the state. That's up to them.
Okay, so a couple of months ago, or maybe not a couple of months ago, but Mr. Nolly from First Rate did a presentation. Were there anything in the presentation that concerned you specifically?
I think that some of the requirements, from my understanding, would limit some of the companies that we would do work with. Again, I don't know which ones, but again, as a public procurement professional, I'm literally speaking to the concept that the more restrictions we place on our bid process, the fewer bids we're going to get in a general sense. So again, things can happen, but economic theory says that would make for less bids, which would in turn potentially increase costs and create barriers for other companies that we might want to have those opportunities.
Okay, can you think of anything right off where the district suffered a loss because of work that was done with lack of skill or?
Not off the top of my head. I mean, we've had some minor issues with things that were rectified in the past. I mean, I would believe that Mike, sorry to put you on the spot. I mean, our projects usually go pretty well. We don't have any problems with our current contractors that we've received bids from.
I can't think of any projects that we've had issues that weren't addressed by a contractor if and when identified.
So we haven't, say, in the last 5 years, had any work done by any contractors that wasn't done properly or had to go back for repair or?
No, nothing coming to mind right now. We did have at Cherry Valley Elementary School a few years ago have a parking lot fail, but that was not due to the contractor. That was more from an engineering perspective.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Any other,
I had a question too. Thank you. In contrast to that, you spoke about different barriers and companies having to self-identify as being one of those disadvantaged companies. I forgot what the terminology you used. My question is, because we can't, force companies to self-identify or whatever, I want to know, what are you guys doing strategically to attract those type of companies to come and make bids for our contracts? That's the first one.
One of the mandatory documents in our bid packet is a form that allows them to do that and let us know that. And also, maybe a year and a half ago, we took an opportunity to email all of our vendors that form and ask them voluntarily for that feedback so that we could make our data better and have a better understanding of that. We got a few back. I don't think everybody that could have filled them out did, but we did make that effort to do that, and we will do that again in the future at some point too.
Okay, so you're saying you sent the form out to people that you already previously worked for, right?
That's the data we have, though. Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
So are there any outside type of recruitment for these type of companies to come and make bids,
Not specifically to any group, but we do have a platform. So bids are posted not only on our website, which is for anybody that wants to look at it. We have a program called Bonfire Interactive, which is a electronic bidding platform where that goes out, and anybody nationwide who is a member of that program gets notified of bids we have. So we could be hitting people that we normally don't know. We do have lists of the vendors that we are familiar with, and we always make sure to get those to them directly. The last thing is, by law in Illinois, we do have to post legal ads in the newspaper, which is circulated for anybody that wants to see it too.
And I understand that. I'm saying more in the sense of like, for veterans, you have, they have signs everywhere, we are veteran employee friendly, that type of thing. Like, so if I'm Joe, Susan, or whatever with the company and I meet one of those descriptions and I may or may not know, but I see your bid come up and, is there something flashing that says, disadvantaged businesses strongly encouraged to apply, here's the form type of thing. Or it's just like you look on there, here's the form, you may think it not, you may fill out or not. Like, I just want to know what is the push to try to attract these type of companies to come and make bids?
I think what I'm hearing is this is something we can spend some time on as a team and get back to the board on some potential strategies to cast a wider net to make sure that we're researching what best practices are to expand access. So I think that's something that Dane and Dr. Brown and Mr. Phillips and I can undertake and see if we can find out if there are other school districts that have found some ways to expand their applicant pool or their bidding pool, in ways that maybe we aren't considering. So I would love to take some time to give the team some time to look into that, and we can report back to the board as soon as we have some ideas and some potential strategies that we can bring forth.
And the last part of my question, thank you. You said that increasing the barriers by, taking on what was mentioned a couple of weeks ago, would make it harder for you guys to get the bids that you're getting now. Do you have, so these barriers that you're speaking of, some of them is to promote inclusivity, right? So, I don't know, I'm just trying to see, like, how are you correlating that changing to adding some of these extra additions that were mentioned is going to make it where now we're going to have, like you're saying, now nobody's going to apply because it's too strict and we can't catch anybody.
Well, and I'm not saying nobody will. I'm just saying, again, economically, in a general sense, the more you narrow who qualifies to bid on something, the fewer people are going to be in that pool to do so. It's just a generic concept, and over time, that will cost us, funds that we could be spending on other projects or other initiatives, depending on which funds we're using for that work. You're welcome.
Mr. Carpenter. Miss.
I didn't have my light on. Go ahead.
Okay, I'm trying to pull it up, but my computer's just not loading fast enough. So when we did receive the presentation from Project First Rate, there were X amount of government organizations, I don't know how many because I can't pull it up right now, but like City of Rockford, for example, just being one that has included some of the practices that were presented to us. Mm-hmm. So when you're saying, increasing requirements, less bids, increasing barriers to have less competition, like some of the things that you're citing as kind of like theories, has there been discussions from RPS 205 with other entities who have done this to see if that's their actual experience, like given they're in the same city as us, given they do similar work projects to us? Has there been discussions with similar
I have not, but that's something I can pick up the phone and make some calls to other people in the community.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Mr. Carpenter.
I did have a question, actually, but I was waiting. A previous meeting, I think, Mr. Phillips, there was I don't remember what it's called, a type of insurance for contractors that was
builder's risk insurance.
Right. And I know that when that was up, there was some discussion about some projects or something that there were problems with, I think, if I remember right.
I'm sorry. Yeah. So when we were doing the clear story here, we had water infiltration, and how, when the roof was open, how the building was protected. And we had some storms. But the contractor did rectify the situation. They didn't, they addressed it, in a timely manner. And so I was going based off of that contractors that had maybe had some errors, I've just never experienced them not coming back to actually make a repair or make things right.
Okay, thanks. That's what I was just trying to remember, what we had talked about on that issue. Thank you.
Anyone else? Thank you, Mr. Youngblood.
Thank you for your time tonight.
You're welcome. We are now on to the consent portion of our meeting. May I have a motion and a second to approve the items listed in paragraph 7, Performance and Monitoring Committee?
So moved.
Second.
Are there any consent items in paragraph 7 the board members wish to have pulled for separate consideration? Please call the roll.
Ms. Bennett?
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter?
Yes.
Ms. Haley?
Yes.
Ms. Stanford?
Yes.
Ms. Pearson?
Yes.
Mr. Schubert?
Yes.
Ms. McCall?
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously.
May I have a motion and a second to approve the items in paragraph 8A under Planning Committee?
So moved.
Second.
Are there any questions or discussion? Please call the roll.
Mr. Carpenter?
Yes.
Ms. Haley?
Yes. Yes.
Ms. Stanford?
Yes.
Ms. Pearson?
Yes.
Mr. Schubert?
Yes.
Ms. McCall?
Yes.
Ms. Bennett?
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously.
May I have a motion and a second to approve items in paragraph 9, Governance Committee?
So moved.
Second.
Are there any consent items board member wish to have pulled for separate consideration? Mr. Schubert?
Oh, sorry.
Please call the roll.
Ms. Haley?
Yes.
Ms. Stanford?
Yes.
Ms. Pearson?
Yes.
Mr. Schubert?
Yes.
Ms. McCall?
Yes.
Ms. Bennett?
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter?
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously.
We are now on closed session consent agenda, including appointment of Grant Mason as 12-month high school dean of athletics and facilities assigned to Guilford, appointment of Zachary Larson as 12-month high school dean of athletics and facility assigned to Jefferson, workers' compensation settlement agreement, MR, FY25 compensation for non-bargaining employees, and EHR organizational report. May I have a motion and a second to approve the items in paragraph 10, closed session consent?
So moved.
Second.
Are there any session or closed session consent items that board members wish to have pulled for separate consideration? Please call the roll.
Ms. Stanford?
Yes.
Ms. Pearson?
Yes.
Mr. Schubert?
Yes.
Ms. McCall?
Yes.
Ms. Bennett?
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter?
Yes.
Ms. Haley?
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously.
We are now on student discipline. H0071X24, the expulsion is held in advance, contingent upon the expulsion in advance agreement for the remainder of 2023 to 2024 school year through the first semester of 24-25 school year. H0072X24, the expulsion is held in advance, contingent upon the expulsion in advance agreement for the remainder of 2023-24 school year through the first semester of 2024-2025 school year. H0073X24, the expulsion is held in advance, contingent upon the expulsion in advance agreement for the remainder of 2023-2024 school year through the first semester of 2024-2025 school year. H0074X24, the expulsion is held in advance, contingent upon the expulsion in advance agreement for the remainder of 2023-2024 school year through the entire 2024-2025 school year. H0078X24, the expulsion is held in advance, contingent upon the expulsion in advance agreement for the remainder of 2023-2024 school year through the first semester of 2024-2025 school year. H0080X24, expelled for the remainder of the 2023-2024 school year through the entire 2024-25 school year. P0120X24, expelled for the remainder of 2023-2024 school year through the entire 2024-2025 school year. P0150A24, the one-day suspension is affirmed. May I have a motion and a second to approve items in paragraph 11, student expulsion and suspension appeals?
So moved.
Second.
Are there any items board member wish to have pulled for separate consideration? Please call the roll.
Ms. Pearson?
Yes.
Mr. Schubert?
Yes.
Ms. McCall?
Yes.
Ms. Bennett?
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter?
Yes.
Ms. Haley?
Yes.
Ms. Stanford?
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously.
We are now on to discipline EIAs. May I have a motion and a second to approve the items in paragraph 12, the student EIAs?
So moved.
Second.
Are there any EIAs the board member wish to have pulled for separate consideration? Ms. Bennett?
Letters II, so it's T007-24.
Anyone else? Please call the roll on. One moment, please. Please call the roll on items not pulled in paragraph 12.
Mr. Schubert?
Yes.
Ms. McCall?
Yes.
Ms. Bennett?
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter?
Yes.
Ms. Haley?
Yes.
Ms. Stanford?
Yes.
Ms. Pearson?
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously.
Item I have been pulled for separate consideration. Do I have a motion and a second to approve item 12II?
So moved.
Second.
Please call the roll.
Ms. McCall?
Yes.
Ms. Bennett?
Abstain.
Mr. Carpenter?
Yes.
Ms. Haley?
Yes.
Ms. Stanford?
Yes.
Ms. Pearson?
Yes.
Mr. Schubert?
Yes.
The motion passes with 6 yeses, 1 abstain.
The next item on the agenda is Superintendent Jarrett's report. It's all yours, Superintendent
And
Jarrett.
I am proud to do the best thing I can always do during the superintendent's report and pass that on to our student representative. Stella, the floor is yours, and we look forward to hearing your reactions to both board meetings that you attended and tying that to your personal experiences. Thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you. Again, I'm Stella. I am from Guilford High School, and I am part of Rock Valley's Running Start program. I'm one of the representatives on Dr. Jarrett's Superintendent Student Advisory Council, and I would like to give a big thank you to everyone for allowing me to sit in on the Committee of the Whole meeting earlier this month. I found it really insightful and took a lot of the topics we talked about into consideration and thought about what ideas I could bring to the board in assistance of elaborating on these topics. One topic that really kind of stuck with me was the code of conduct talk. And based off of my experience as a student, I may be able to bring some ideas to the board that will be helpful in implementing better practices and educating both students and staff members of these rules put into place. As a junior in high school, I will acknowledge the fact that there have been some kind of presentations on the code of conduct and that I was given a book. But for the most part, if I do recall correctly, only a few of the major offenses were covered, and most of the teachers present to them did not cover much ground, and the students were far from engaged. Most were on their phones. I do know that the code of conduct is most important when admin is looking at what route they should take to discipline a student, but I also think it's just as important for both students and staff to be fully educated on it. Based on what I've heard from my peers, most students who are making minor offenses that are committing minor offenses on the student code of conduct do not even know they're on there, and I do believe that if students were better educated on these offenses, that part of the student population would be less likely to commit them. And while of course there will always be that group of students that will completely disregard them, but I can predict there will most likely be a slight increase in those who do decide to follow the code of conduct. I can also see an improvement in the future if we begin to better educate staff, such as teachers, on following the code of conduct for all students who it applies to. I've noticed disciplinary actions differ among teachers, and I believe that it's giving the wrong impression to students, along with confusing them that they can violate the code of conduct in one class and get away with it, but not in another. These practices seem to give students the wrong impression of consistency. Although these rules may already be in place, I think establishing a better common ground between staff and students would be more beneficial. Overall, I do see the code of conduct as a necessary way to make sure all students receive fair punishment for the actions they decide to take, but I do believe that there is something to be said about making a greater effort in educating both students and staff on these rules.
And on Stella's fine report, I conclude my remarks. Thank you.
Good job. We're now on the last agenda item. Do board members have any action steps, other business, new business, or agenda recommendations on any other matters? One moment, please. Thank you. Or comments? You know, this is the policy season. If there's any questions or concerns or something we need to take a look at, please speak now.
I already emailed my recommendation.
Okay. Vice President McCall?
I don't have any recommendations, but I do have a comment. Is this the time to make a comment? Okay, I just wanted to give a shout out to Earl Dotson Jr. and Mr. James Pearson and their staff that came out for the coffee chat last week. The superintendent was there. We had a really great turnout. It was a great interaction engagement between the community and myself and board president Pearson. So I just want to shout out everybody with that. We had a great time. I can't wait for the next one, even though I can't be there. So I was very encouraged, and we need to keep things like this coming up. So that's all.
Thank you. So I had an opportunity to participate in Read Across America at McIntosh. So it was quite an experience. It's been a long time since I've been in the company of kindergartners. And I can never appreciate teachers more. So they were very patient, and for the most part, they were very engaged. But one thing I thought I would put to the test, and that is to try to redirect kindergarten. So they had numbers where they set on a mat. So there was about 3 numbers that didn't have a body in them. So I asked, who belonged to number 8? And they may have been over in the corner, occupied with something else other than it's time to read. And so I kindly asked them if they would join us, and I praised them for doing so. And before we know it, all the seats are filled. However, the attention span of a kindergartner is a little short. So we went through that a few times, but it was a wonderful experience, and normal things happen. But, you know, they're kids, and you can expect that. So that was a really good experience, and I look forward to visiting more schools. Mr. Gallagher haven't gotten the email yet, but I think it's just easier for him. I need to do a one-stop shop on the Auburn campus in April. So I don't mind going to the separate schools, but I want to do it all in the same hour. That's just a side note. So again, I thought we had an excellent coffee chat. So I need to speak on this a little because my phone just rung off the hook in terms of why the individuals didn't know. It should have been more people there. And I stick to the size of attendance that those that were in attendance was a perfect size for the discussion that we had. And if more had came, that would have been wonderful as well. But I think that it was just a perfect setting and good discussion. And I want to remind the public, specifically if you don't have children in RPS 205, I do know that it was on the news because I got feedback that it was announced on the news. So the information did go out. However, if you don't have students in RPS 205, perhaps you didn't get an alert. So there would be other coffee chats, and I don't have to have my hands in everything that goes on. It was a wonderful team that put it together, and I thought it was a wonderful experience. We had both parents there and students. A special appreciation for Pastor Kenneth Copeland for being the moderator that kind of helped keep things on track. So I thought it was overall really good. I want to thank board members just for your engagement and putting forth the effort. And I'm going to give a very special recognition to Mrs. Bennett, who, when I tell you, just heads up, she is going to read every word on an EIA. So just so you know, EIAs are not going unnoticed, and it is an opportunity for students to have another chance to change their behavior, and you have to have boundaries set and encourage students to learn within those boundaries. That's when you start looking at, specifically in high school, you're going to soon go into the real world, and you might not have chance after chance after chance after chance after chance. So please keep that in mind, that we always encourage, well, I encourage administrators to, if at all possible, not put the pressure on parents to sign when emotions are high and they don't understand and they're signing things that they really didn't read. And I think that it is worth making sure that our parents and their students really understand what is taking place. That's all I have. If there's Ms. Bennett.
Yeah, I just want to talk about social work for 1 second.
Sure.
So last night I was asked to go to City Council for City of Rockford for social work proclamation. So Mayor McNamara declared the month of March as social work month, and so National Association of Social Work has also done that. So that was pretty exciting to be able to be recognized as a social worker, because people forget we exist. So that was nice. Today is also World Social Work Day, so the entire world is thinking of us social workers today. So shout out to all the social workers at RPS who make all of our buildings run and make sure our kids are happy, healthy, and safe. And then last week also, just a shout out about the Early Bird Social Work Program that's at Auburn. I got a chance, Mr. Pope set up a visit for me to go to Auburn and see the program, so I got to meet with the executive director for the program, and then Auburn administration for the program. So they're working on building the group up. It just started about a month ago, but getting youth engaged in learning about social work. So if they are interested in a profession in social work, or if they just want to learn more about mental health and mental wellness. So that's a really exciting program that they're piloting at Auburn. And kids are really excited about it, and I just was very, very impressed. So, yeah, shout out to social workers. That's all.
Thank you. Anyone else? If there's no other comments, I'll take a motion in a second to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, and have a good night.